The headline should be that the Celtics are really good. That the Celtics began this season discombobulated, unsure of themselves, no chemistry, tuning out the coach. Nothing was working. And fast forward to late April, and their defense is strangling. It is suffocating. Jason Tatum is the guy that you want taking shots late in games. And the Boston Celtics certainly appear to be a legitimate title threat. That's the headline. The headline is that Ime Udoka and his offense, or his defense rather, has completely altered the trajectory of the Celtics season. The defense that he's coaching, the defense that harassed Kevin Durant last night, the defense that has helped propel them to 2 comeback victories in the fourth quarter, is as good as anybody has in the NBA. It has been their great equalizer. It has fueled their surge in the standings. And if it's tough on Kevin Durant, it's going to be tough on anybody to score against this Celtics squad. They are really dangerous right now. And their defense is a team-wide defense. Marcus Smart's the defensive player of the year. As KD just mentioned, they're hitting him on every drive. They're sending 2 bodies at him all of the time. They're making him uncomfortable. They are clearly focusing on making sure Kevin Durant does not go off. And they'll allow other guys to go off, but not Kevin Durant. And it's working. It has worked through 2 games. The Celtics are going to make life hard on anybody that they play, because they will not let anybody get buckets easily. On the flip side, the Nets allow a lot of easy buckets. But while the Celtics are fueled by their defense, you still need a finisher on the offensive end, and Tatum has turned into that. He's been phenomenal. He's been phenomenal in stretches, deep in games, in fourth quarters. He does not fear the moment. He wants the shot. He's made the shots. And last night, not a great opening 3 quarters, but in the fourth quarter, Tatum came alive. And every time the Celtics needed a bucket, he got it. And every time that they could extend the lead, he did so. To the point where it was a nip-and-tuck game, and then the Nets missed a couple of shots in a row. Tatum made a couple of shots in a row, and the Celtics ended up leading by double digits. That was the difference. And so the Celtics are dangerous because they have this perfect meld right now of elite team-wide defense and right now an excellent postseason finisher. All defense, no offense, you can't go very far in today's NBA. All offense, no defense, also. You got to have both a defense and a finisher. The Celtics have the best defense and are now watching an elite finisher develop in front of their very eyes. The flip side of that equation is, and I mentioned the headline should be the Celtics, the Celtics, the Celtics today, because they won the game. They did what it takes, and they're the title threat right now, up 2-0. The headline's going to be the Nets, though, because the Nets' stars have come up so small. That's going to be the headline because that's more interesting than the Celtics being good. And what can you say except these 2 guys, Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, have a postseason career that is littered with disappointment. Littered all over the place. Everywhere you look, skeletons and boneyards of disappointing playoff moments. Kyrie, before LeBron gets to Cleveland, can't even make the playoffs. When they get to their first NBA Finals, Kyrie is injured for the NBA Finals, meaning that LeBron's doing that alone. When he leaves Cleveland, he goes to Boston and complete flameouts or is injured in the playoffs. And then last year, again, injured in the playoffs. This year, game 1, 39 points, loss. Game 2, 10 points, loss. Kevin Durant, we know. Years in Oklahoma City, unable to break through, gets to one NBA Finals, loses to LeBron's Heat, can't find his way through another one, gets knocked off, up 3-1 of the Warriors, then joined the Warriors after he leaves, injured up until last season, foot close to the three-point line, on the three-point line, crushing end of their season. Again, disappointment. Yes, between the two of them, there's 3 championship rings. But those rings are not on teams that either one of those two guys lead. Kyrie's ring comes on a huge shot in 2016, but that's LeBron's championship. That's LeBron's team. That's LeBron's MVP. That's why Kyrie had to leave. Didn't want to be in LeBron's shadow. Kevin Durant's 2 rings come when he joins a 73-win team and a locker room that either he never felt completely comfortable in or they kept him at arm's length. One of the two or both. But that's a Steph Curry locker room. That was never a Kevin Durant locker room. Durant parachuted in, had 2 wonderful NBA finals. He was great in those finals. But he got to parachute in. He didn't have to be the engine that propelled them 82 games through the playoffs and the NBA finals. These 2 guys, this is their legacy. That when it's come down to them as the leaders, they can't get it done. And, I mean, look, the Nets, it's not necessarily Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving's fault that the bench is thin. It's not necessarily their fault that James Harden shot his way out of town and Ben Simmons isn't giving them anything right now. It's not necessarily their fault that Harden decided to say, I hate it here, get me out of here, holding the Nets at ransom, and they get nothing but an injured player in return, basically. I mean, they get Seth Curry as well, but this is Durant and Kyrie's moment, and they cannot shy away from this. This is their moment, and I give Kevin Durant credit. He is not making excuses. He said, this is the playoffs. This is how defense is played. But last night, he was awful. Absolutely awful. And to shoot 0 for 10 with 4 turnovers in the second half of a crucial playoff game, that's just a terrible night for Kevin Durant. And you might say, well, he needs some help, and that'd be kind of fair, but it's also about him elevating this team to where it needs to go. And he couldn't do so last night. When it mattered most, Kevin Durant couldn't hit a shot and Jason Tatum could. And that's the end of the day. I mean, Kevin Durant had 27 points last night, 18 at the free throw line. All of his points came from the free throw line. So he's not able to create his shot. He's not able to drain his shot. There were shots last night that he took that were heavily guarded that he didn't hit. There were shots last night that were not heavily guarded he did not hit. And for Kyrie, I mean, look, 10 points ain't going to get it done. A plus-minus of -9 last night. Kevin Durant had a plus-minus of -10. Between the 2 stars of the Nets, they were negative 19 on the floor together. So it's back to the drawing board for the Nets. And you can take some moral victories out of this. You can rationalize this. Hey, we were in both games. Fourth quarter lead in both. We were on the road in both. Series doesn't start until a road team loses. All we got to do is hold serve at Barclays Center, and we're going to be fine. Go back up to Boston 2-2. You can do all that song and dance. 2 games, 2 fourth quarter leads, 2 pedestrian efforts from Kevin Durant, 2 losses. Them's the facts. Them's the facts, Jack.